Hi, welcome to the second episode of the Great Guitar Build Off of 2022. My name is Randy from Mock Guitars. And before I get started, I just wanted to say thank you to all the people who liked and commented on the previous video. I really appreciate the views, and yeah, thank you. So I'm not going to take up too much of your time. We're going to be working on the body today, so let's get to it. So this build starts off like most, marking out my center lines and getting the layout of the guitar. This was a little bit more tricky because of the multi-scale aspect of the guitar. Figuring out the bridge angle, figuring out the pickup angles especially. The neck pocket also seemed a little bit deeper set than I'm normally used to, but I think I got it. So with all that done, we can get to the woodworking. So the first step is removing as much material as possible at the drill press. This helps make routing easier later on. So the routing was going pretty well until, as luck would have it, my router crapped out. So I moved on to my palm router, which worked really well, but dust collection does suck. When that was done, I moved on to the pickup cavities and removed some material there and routed those out. Off camera, I did the electronics cavity, and with that I was ready to start the lower bout. So as you can see, I'm right in the line dangerously close, but I kind of sort of like it. Besides the fact that I really hate sanding, it's like playing chicken with a bandsaw. Here I'm primarily focused on smoothing and flattening out the surface as precisely as possible. It'll make it much easier to match the Wenge piece that attaches to it later. So it took a while, but I finally got the boss's approval and moved on to marking out the Wenge part and bills back to the bandsaw. Psych, I forgot to film it. So this is a pretty good fit straight off the bandsaw. I was pretty happy with that. I figure it's probably going to make my life a little bit easier as I try to get these two pieces to match perfectly. There are probably easier, more accurate ways of doing this, but the way I went with is basically you rub both of the pieces of wood together, and when they contact, you see the shiny area. You remove that and you continue this process until they both match up perfectly. It's a tedious process, but an enjoyable one. So I heard that the Wenge was very difficult to work with, and it's such an extremely dense and hard wood. It was much easier to remove as much material as I could off of the maple, but I went back and forth between both as best as I could. So after a few hours of work, this is the final result. I gotta admit, I'm actually quite happy with the result of it. They match up fairly perfectly. I mean, nothing's perfect, but pleasantly surprised. The contrast between these two pieces of wood are beautiful. One of the things I like about building a guitar is that there's a million ways to screw up and a million opportunities for it. And this is one of the places where I very nearly did. I was getting ready for glue up and realized that I hadn't cut the access tunnel for the electronics wiring to go through. I don't think there would have been a way to repair this had I forgotten without major surgery. And now, finally, I think I'm ready for glue up. Hopefully. There is something about glue ups that makes me nervous. Might be commitment issues. This is why I didn't cut out the shape of the body sooner. I figured it might make the clamping job a little bit easier, and it did. So I'm very glad to have had thought ahead, and it did make things much smoother. So the guitar ended up in clamps for about a week. When I finally got back around to it, I turned the guitar over and realized that a small gap had opened up in the rear section. But it turned out to be very minor, and a little glue and a little sawdust filled it up quite nicely, and that was that. I love this part. It's always so exciting. Like getting her out of her dress for the first time. I think that's especially true this time because this guitar takes so much work before I can actually do this. Usually I would just, rat out the neck and the pickup cavities and get to it. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we have a guitar. So here we are starting the initial carving stages. This is not a complete carve here. It's not complete by any measure. But I get this parabolic curve I like to put on the top of my guitars. And this process took about 6 hours each day, consecutive Saturday and a Sunday. There's something about working with hand tools that I really, really enjoy. And I could have made a jig. I could have made this a lot easier. But I opted to just go ahead and do this with hand tools because you don't have to worry about loud noises or losing a finger or any of that other stuff. It's easy to get lost in it. It's like meditation for restless people. So clean her up with some light sanding and we are done.